Today I'll be showing you the first 30 things that you should do if you've just got your brand new Google Pixel 9a. Now these tips and tricks will help you save battery, extend battery health, improve performance, and unlock new features. And together, all of these are going to make your experience using your Pixel 9a even better. So without further ado, let's get started. What better place to start than with battery? More specifically, let's take a look at increasing the battery health or prolonging the battery health on your Pixel 9a. Now, this is a setting that I have shown before on previous Google phones, but it has sort of changed and it's now more hidden. So let me show you where to find it. And first of all, we are going to jump into the settings app here. And over on the main page, we're going to scroll down to where we find battery right here. And then in here, we're going to tap onto battery health. And then here, we're going to scroll down and then tap onto charge optimization. Now, it doesn't look like an option, but you can actually tap into this and that will open this menu here. And first of all, you want to make sure that use charging optimization is turned on. Now, from there, we're going to have two different options to choose from, either adaptive charging or limit to 80%. Now, which should you go for? In my opinion, and for my recommendation for most people, it will be to go for adaptive charging. Now, what that's going to do is it's essentially going to keep track of your charging habits. So let's say you typically plug in your phone at 11 p.m. at night. It's first going to charge from 0 up to 80%. However, then wait with the remaining 20% till closer to when you typically wake up and unplug your phone, let's say 7 a.m. Now, what this does is this will slow the charge, stagger the charge, thus producing less heat, and that's going to create less wear on the battery, as heat is going to be the #1 killer for your battery health. So, and you charge it more slowly, more gradually, like with adaptive charging, you're going to decrease the wear and ultimately help your battery health last longer. Now, the second option here is really for the die-hard battery health savers, and that is to limit your battery capacity to 80%. So this way it's going to charge to 80% and then stay there, not go beyond that. And that is because for lithium-ion batteries like the one in your Pixel 9a, it is best to maintain a charge below 100%. So this will go a very long way to preserving your battery health, but of course you do sacrifice the top 20% of your battery capacity. For some people, this may be fine. Me personally, this is too big a sacrifice, so I find that adaptive charging is going to be the happy middle ground between not using any of these features and finding the one to help preserve your battery health and help it last longer. And I want to show you how to find out more about the condition of your battery. Not just important if you've bought your phone new, but especially if you're going to buy a phone used. You want to know what the battery condition is like. So to do this, first of all, we're going to go back one page, and that's going to show you your battery capacity. That will show you the maximum capacity, which currently is 100%. I would expect this if your phone is new. This will gradually go down though over time. And the second thing we can also check is the number of cycles that your battery has been through. This again is useful to check whether you buy your phone new or used, just so you know that the phone is either fully new or if the phone is used, you have an idea for how often it has been used. So to find out the cycle count within your settings app, we're going to scroll all the way down here to where we find about this phone right here. And then we are going to scroll to where we find battery information in here. And then right here, that's where you're going to find the date that the battery was first used, and importantly, your cycle count. So like I said, if you are buying this phone new, yet it has a higher cycle count of, let's say, 10 plus or something, you may want to return that phone. Or if you're buying your phone used and it says, I don't know, that it's barely been used, but you see a cycle count of 100, then you could definitely negotiate on a lower price or decide to buy somewhere else. And now let's talk about the display. One of my favorite features of the Google Pixel 9a is that it comes with a 120 Hz refresh rate display, which means that any motion and animations on screen are going to be buttery smooth. However, by default, out of the box, the 120 Hz refresh rate mode is actually turned off. So let me go ahead and show you how to turn this on. To do this, we're going to jump into settings and then scroll down to where we find display and touch right here. And then all the way at the bottom of this page here, you see this option hidden away for smooth display, and you want to make sure that that is turned on, as if this is turned off, it's going to limit the refresh rate of your screen to 60 Hz, which is going to give you a much, I don't want to say worse experience, but a nowhere near as smooth experience. It will almost make the display feel and appear a little bit choppy as when compared to the super smooth 120 Hz refresh rate. Now, one thing I will say, if you are very serious about saving battery, this is an option you could choose to turn off. However, in my opinion, it's better to save battery through some of the tips that I'll show you throughout this video and keep this on, because this just has such an impact on the feel and quality of your display, particularly if, say, you are watching videos or playing games. everything just feels so much smoother. And once you get used to 120 hertz, it's hard to go back. So not sure why Google hasn't turned it on by default, but here's how to do it. Speaking of cool features to unlock, let's take a look at adding a new button or a new way to interact with your phone, and that is through a double tap to the back of the phone. Let me show you what I've done here. So right now, if I double tap the back of my phone, as you can see, that's gonna bring up my notification screen as well as my quick settings toggle here, which I can then swipe down to adjust my system toggles. And all it takes is a simple double tap right under the camera to bring this up. Let me show you how to set this up. For this, we're going to go into settings and then scroll all the way to where we find system right here. And then here, we're going to tap onto gestures. Now, the first thing we're going to do is tap into quick tap and start actions. And then you want to make sure that this here is turned on. This will enable that quick tap feature. And then from here, we can choose what we want that quick tap, double tap to activate. So for example, we can take a screenshot. You see you have various system functions. You can also have it open any specific application you like as well. And you can also set it to require an even stronger tap if you find yourself accidentally activating it. Though for me, this really hasn't been a problem. And I find it to be very useful to quickly show me the notifications, particularly if, say, I am using my phone in one hand. It might be just a little bit uncomfortable to reach all the way to the top of the screen. Instead, just a quick double tap. As you can see, it's not going to open now because I'm in the screen, but then a quick double tap will show me the notification screen. So particularly when I'm out, I find this to be very useful. And again, I find it to be quite reliable as well. So this is where you set that up right in your settings app. And now I want to talk about multitasking tips and tricks for the Pixel 9a. So first of all, let me show you how to start a split view or multitasking running two apps at once. So the first thing you want to do is open any application. Then you want to open up the app switcher. And then from there, we're going to tap on the application icon here in the top, and then we will enter split screen like so. And then from here, we can choose any other open application to pull up alongside that application. So let's say here, there we go. I've got a Chrome window, and as you can see, we are now running two applications at once. I've got Chrome here on the bottom and YouTube here on the top. And what is also neat is we can change how we want this to look in terms of orientation. So we want to give more screen space to one app over the other. We can simply click and drag that slider and move it along. Now, let's say there's an app pair like this, for example, that you use frequently. Personally, I love having YouTube and Chrome open at the same time. Let's say I'm watching a video and I'm researching a product. There is a way to actually save this app pair, and it's kind of hidden away, but there is a way to do that. So what you have to do is once you have your split view open, in a multitasking view like so, go into the app switcher and you'll see both app icons on the top here. Then you want to tap on either app icon and then tap on Save App Pair. And as you can see on the home screen right there, you actually get a new icon, and this will allow us to instantly jump into that app pair, having both apps open at once. Now, I know many previously thought this was only possible on Samsung phones. However, this is also doable on Google, as you can see, and this is a really, really powerful feature that I love to see here on Android. This next feature is super useful as well, and that is having the ability to lock an application. So let's say you had your phone off to a friend or say maybe an Uber driver or whatever it may be, and you want them to have only access to the application that is on your screen. You don't want to be able to swipe home or look at your messages or photos or whatever it may be. There is a way to lock that person in the specific app that is open. However, first we do have to turn on a setting to enable this feature. And to do this, we are going to jump into settings, and then we're going to scroll down to where we find security and privacy. And then we'll scroll all the way to the bottom to where we find more security and privacy. And then here, all the way at the bottom, once again, we have app pinning, and we tap into that, and you want to make sure that that setting is turned on. And this will allow us to pin, or in other words, lock an application that we have open on our phone. So now that this setting is activated, let me show you how to do this. So let's go back to YouTube, and let's say we want to lock this application. You want to open up the app switcher like we did before, then tap onto the app icon here in the top. And then we're going to tap onto pin. And as you can see, this app is now pinned as denoted here by the text. So I can use the application. However, I can't swipe home. I also can't see my system toggles or notifications. And to unpin an application, what you want to do is swipe up from the bottom, hold, and then you'll be asked to authenticate either with your fingerprint or your code. And as you can see, the app has now been unpaid. So this is a great privacy feature if, say, you have to hand your phone off to someone else. Speaking of privacy, did you know your Google Pixel 9a comes with a free VPN from Google pre-installed? Now, first, let me show you how to turn this on. So to do this, we're going to jump into settings and then tap on the second option, network and internet. And then here we have VPN. And in here, we're going to tap onto VPN by Google, and then we're going to go ahead and enable that by tapping on more, tap on use VPN, and give it a second here for the VPN to connect. And as you can see, we will now have a entirely free VPN from Google running on your Pixel 9a. Now, why is a VPN important? Of course, primarily for privacy, right? It's going to protect your online privacy by masking your IP address. It is also really useful for allowing you to, for example, change countries to have access on certain websites that may work, or certain parts of a website. So let's say on Netflix, you may have more shows in one country than another. Let's say in Japan, you have more of the Pokemon series than we do here in the UK. You can switch your country and get access to that as well. So really cool to see that this is not only free, but also already built in and pre-installed, and that is how you activate it. And of course, to turn it off, simply turn it off like so, and that will disable the VPN from Google. And this is of course exclusive to Pixel phones from Google. And now let's talk about customization, right? This is super important to make your Pixel A feel like yours and really get the most out of it. So let's start off by looking at themed icons. This is a great way to make your home screen pair better with the theme and the overall color aesthetic of your phone. So let me show you how to do this. To do this, we're going to jump into settings, and then we'll scroll down to where we find wallpaper and style. And then we're going to tap onto the home screen on the top right here. And as you can see, we can not only change the color of the general system font, so for example, of buttons here to press in the OS, we can have that color coded as well. But we can also change the themed icons. So I'm going to turn this on. And as you can see, all the applications here, or I should say most of the applications on my home screen, will then change to kind of match the theme. As you can see, it's got this really cool black and white theme, very minimalistic. Now, I think already here you can see the pros and cons of this. The pros is that most Google system apps will update flawlessly, even some third-party ones, like for example Instagram, and it looks great. However, unfortunately, not all applications do, like the settings app over here. Let's see over here. Yeah, Minecraft, there's another that doesn't. So it's not perfectly consistent. I wish it was, but it still goes a long way, and I think you can move certain apps out the way, like the settings app, to give you a super clean look that I think does look really nice. And now back here in the wallpaper and style setting page, we can also customize the lock screen. So if we tap onto lock screen here, we can tap onto clock color and size. And as you can see, we can not only change the color of the clock, we can also change the size. We can make it larger or smaller. Smaller is great if, say, you have a picture of your loved one, you don't want their face covered by the clock. And of course, you can also make it larger if you like as well. You can change the color, the opacity of the clock, as well as the color of that. So really great. You can customize this really, really far. Something I also really recommend you customize would be the system toggles that you can see here at the bottom of your lock screen. And to do that, we're going to scroll down, and here we can actually change what each of these toggles will do. So we can change the left shortcut, have it set to, for example, your camera, do not disturb. Personally, I like to have my ringer as well as a flashlight here on the left, both of which are very useful. And then as you can see, of course, right from the lock screen, we can go ahead and toggle these to turn them on instantly. Very useful to have, and I highly recommend you customize these and set them up to controls that you like or that you think you'll use most. And then one more customization setting that I want to show you over on the home screen side of things. We'll tap onto home screen. If we scroll down, we can also change the app grid size. And this is going to allow you to have more applications on your home screen. You can see by default, we have a 4x5 grid, but if we want more applications, we can change this to a 5x5 grid. And as you can see, that will then free up a lot more room, allowing us to store more applications on the home screen. Of course, the icons will be a little bit smaller. So if, say, you want those icons to be larger, we can go extreme here all the way to a 2x2 grid. That's going to make it very large. I don't know if you have parents or something. This may be useful for them. Let me go ahead and preview that real quick. There you go. As you can see, we have massive icons. Impossible to miss where that phone icon is. But I think the happy medium really is that 4x5. But I think 5x5 can be useful for some too, especially considering that the Pixel 9a is not, of course, the largest of phones. So that will enable you to unlock more of that screen real estate. Now, I want to go back to batteries. You know how at the start of the video, I mentioned that there would be some battery saving tips throughout this video? Well, here is probably the most important one, and that is to save battery with notifications. What I highly recommend you do is to do an audit and go through all the notifications that you allow coming into your phone, as this will take up a lot of battery, especially if you have dozens or over 100 notifications coming in each day, right? Every time a notification comes in, your phone vibrates, your speaker goes off, and your screen turns on, and that can really add up. All right, so to change this, what we're going to do is go into the settings app, and then we're going to tap onto notifications right here. And then we're going to tap onto app notifications. And from here, we're going to change from most recent to all applications. And this right here is going to give you a comprehensive overview of all the applications and functions on your phone that are going to want to send you notifications. And by default, most of these are probably turned on. And my advice is to probably turn off a good half, maybe 50% or so of these, as most things or a lot of these things don't need to send you notifications. So to give you an example, things that I like to keep on are going to be certain finance apps, certain social media apps, but things I turn off are going to be, for example, shopping applications, games, or certain utility applications, right? Or loyalty rewards applications. They don't need to be bothering me throughout the day. And when you have less notifications coming in, again, that's your phone activating less. It's going to save you a lot of battery when you add it all up. And it's also going to, well, make you less distracted throughout the day, because this way, when your phone goes off, it's probably going to be something more important and not, say, Facebook reminding you of someone's birthday whose name you don't even recognize. And this brings us to the camera. Now, the Google Pixel 9a is known for its exceptional camera, especially for the price point. However, there are a few settings that I like to tweak to make it even better. So first of all, in photo mode, what I want to show you is how to enable an option that will let you shoot in RAW. So let me go ahead and show you how to do this. First, we're going to tap onto settings here in the bottom left-hand corner. Then we will go onto more settings. And then in here, we're going to tap onto advanced, the last option. And here you want to turn on RAW and JPEG control. Now, by default, your Pixel 9a will shoot in JPEG. And I think for most instances, this format is fine. The quality is reasonably good. And the nice thing is the file sizes are going to be quite small. However, if say you are going to a special occasion, a special event, or you really want to take some pro level photos, you do want to switch to RAW, as that's going to allow your camera to capture much more color data, giving you a much better quality image, and also importantly, give you so much more room for editing later on the fact. You could change things like your exposure, your white balance, all of that without degrading the quality of the image like it would with JPEG. So again, for those special occasions, it is definitely worth switching to RAW. So with the setting enabled, we can now switch to RAW in the camera app. So to do this, we're going to, within the camera app, tap on that same settings icon here in the bottom left, and then here we go. We can change between JPEG only, which will be the default, or tap onto RAW. And as you can see, it's then going to take a RAW plus JPEG photo, and then you want to take that RAW photo. You see, there we go, RAW on the top left as well, and that's the photo that's going to give you the best quality and a lot of room for editing. And one more quick setting that I always like to turn on is to enable a grid. So we're going to go back into more settings and then scroll down, this time to grid type. And here we can turn on a 3x3 grid. Now, this is also known as the rule of thirds, and it's going to really help you align your shots, whether you want to center it or say have it just off frame. I think the rule of thirds is an exceptionally useful grid to have on, and that's going to help you really frame your shots and make it all look a little bit more professional and pleasing to the eye. So those are a couple of photo settings. Let's now jump over to video mode, where I want to show you how to shoot in 4K, as this the Pixel 9a is capable of shooting in 4K. However, by default, it will only shoot in 1080p HD. So to unlock this feature, what we're going to do is switch to video mode, then we're going to tap onto settings, and then in here we can change from FHD, which is just HD, to 4K by tapping it. You'll see we also get a 4K icon here in the top left, and we're now going to be recording in 4K, the best quality. I think those life memories, right, things that you're going to be recording, you want to capture them in the best possible quality, and I think 4K makes a lot of sense to do. Now beneath that, we can also change the frame rate from 30 to 60. I think for most things 30 will be fine. However, if you're capturing, say, sport, or you intend to slow the footage down, of course 60 FPS will give you that flexibility, but the file sizes will be a bit larger. So those are a few camera settings that I definitely recommend you unlock to take better quality photos and videos on your Pixel 9a. And now let's take a look at calls. This is a phone after all, and one of my favorite features of the new Pixel 9a is we have the ability to automatically filter what Google suspects are spam calls. So a spam call or suspected spam call will come in. Google will filter that through its databases and using AI, and if it believes to be spam, it's not even going to let that call come through, and you won't be bothered. It is an amazing thing. I don't know about you, but here in London, we definitely get spam calls. I would say I get them at least every couple days. I'll get one or so. Quite annoying. So to be able to turn this feature on, as this too is off by default, you want to go into your phone app, then tap onto the three-dot menu here on the top right, and then we're going to tap onto settings. And then in here, we're going to tap onto caller ID and spam. And then you want to do turn on filter spam calls. And like I said, that's going to filter a call when it comes in. And only if Google believes it to be spam, it will block it. Otherwise, of course, it will still let the call through. So this is something I definitely recommend you turn on for your peace of mind. And throughout this video, you probably see that I have the navigation bar set to the swipe gestures. I find this to be definitely the superior way to interact with your phone. It makes it super easy to open and close apps, to go through the app switcher. And my favorite feature of this is it also allows you to very quickly cycle between your open apps simply by swiping along the bottom of the display, something you can't do if you have the more traditional button layout. So if you aren't already on the swipe gestures, I definitely recommend you change it, at least give it a try, because like I said, for those reasons, I really think it is the better way to navigate through your phone. And the way to change that is we're going to jump into settings, and then we are going to scroll to where we find display and touch right here. And then in here, we're going to scroll down slightly to where we find navigation mode. And here we are going to change from gestures, from 3-button navigation, which will be the default. There you can see you get the 3 buttons, probably looks very familiar. And what we're going to do is we are going to change back to gesture navigation, because like I said, it also gives you more screen space. By the way, you see that little bar takes up less screen space than having those buttons. So all those reasons combined, I think gesture navigation really is the better way to go, and I highly recommend you change yours to it. A cool feature that using gesture navigation will also unlock is having the ability to instantly access AI, or in this case Gemini, and there's a setting that we need to enable. So in this same screen, what we're going to do is tap on that little settings icon here on the right. And then we're going to turn on swipe to invoke assistant. Now with that feature turned on, if I swipe from either corner of the display, watch this, I can pull up Gemini super easily and ask, hey, what's the weather in London today? And cloudy as always, why am I not surprised? And now I want to pivot over to some AI features that you'll find on the Google Pixel 9a, including the ability to generate any image by using an app called Pixel Studio. So to do this, we're going to just pull up our app drawer here and we will search for it. Of course, this will come pre-installed on your Pixel phone. And what is neat here is we can go ahead and launch this application. Then we'll tap on to create, and then we can type in pretty much anything. So Pomeranian on a surfboard. Let's see what it comes up with. So we'll give it a couple of seconds here to generate an image. And there it is. Pretty cool. As you can see, it's definitely got the breed of the dog right. The surfboard is there. Even the reflections in the water are relatively accurate. So a fun little way to quickly generate a picture. Say if you are mood boarding or you want to just send it to a friend or whatever, it's going to be fun to experiment with this. And I found it to actually get better over the years as well. Now, perhaps a more practical implementation of AI is going to be the ability to remove objects from a photo, and this too, I think Google does really quite well. So let me go ahead and demonstrate how this works. So first of all, you want to pull up any picture, then we're going to tap onto the Edit button, and then here we'll tap onto the AI button, which is that little colorful icon in the bottom left corner, and then we're going to go ahead and select any part of the image. So in this case, let's go ahead and select this box here of the Pixel 9a. You can see you don't have to be very precise. It does a good job at outlining the box, and in this case, let's go ahead and erase it to remove an object or say a person that may be in the background of your photo or something, or some trash, I don't know, to remove it from the photo. And as you can see, it's done a pretty flawless job. It will even give you multiple versions to cycle between, but they all look pretty similar here. And check out how well it's retained the texture of the wood, as well as the little carpet or the rug, which of course previously were hidden. There you go. Check it out. Here's your before and after. And as you can see, it's done really a great job. The only thing I can probably fault it for would be a slight bit of shadows here along the edge. But other than that, this looks really, really great. And if you're removing a fine detail, like I said, in the background of your photo, this can go a long way. Now, to take this one step further, you also have the option to reimagine a part of your image. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that now. So we'll use the same image here as an example. Once again, go into Edit and then tap on the same AI button. And this time we're going to select a different portion of the picture. Let's go for the wood here in the backdrop. So we'll go ahead and very roughly here outline the box. There we go. Did a pretty good job. I can go ahead and add a little bit more to that if I want to fill this out properly. A little bit more. There we go. Let's go with that for now. It doesn't have to be too perfect. And this time, instead of erase, we're going to click on Reimagine, and we can type anything we want. Let's go with clear blue water, and let's see what it does. And then we'll give it a second here, and look at that. The backdrop has now completely changed. So it's done a pretty reasonable job at outlining the parts that I didn't want it to affect. And again, it's also going to give you multiple versions here of that image. So another example you could think of is, let's say you've got a picture and the sky is cloudy because you took it in London, and instead you want to change it to a beautiful sunset, right? There's something you can do. And again, I think it is hit and miss, as with a lot of these AI features, but sometimes it really works quite well. And even in this quick little on-the-fly example, it's not bad. It's not half bad. So fun features, again, AI features within your Photos app that are all, of course, unlocked and will come pre-installed on your Pixel 9a. The last AI feature that I want to show you is Circle to Search. This is probably the one that I use most, but first, of course, we want to make sure that the feature is enabled. And to do this, we're going to jump into Settings, and then we're going to scroll down here over on the main page to where we find Display and Touch, and then go back to navigation mode where we were earlier. And here we got Circle to Search, and you want to make sure that that is turned on. Now let me show you how to enable this. So basically with anything that you have on your screen, like here I've got a beautiful picture of my dog Lucky. What you want to do is tap and hold the swipe down bar along the bottom here, and you can see this colorful UI comes up, and here you can literally circle any part of the screen, and it's going to do an image search for what you have selected. This is great if you want to learn more about a specific product, perhaps that you saw in a video, or like this, a beautiful dog that you happen to see, a bird or a flower, product, or maybe an ingredient, right? Whatever it is, and it will allow you to search for that instantly. And this works for anything. So not just within your Photos app, it works on YouTube videos, it works on even words, anything you like, and you can quickly just circle, and as you can see, that's going to give you more information on whatever it is you circled. So cross image searches, it's also going to give you an AI overview as well. So useful feature. And again, to activate, all you have to do is press and hold that home bar right at the bottom. And next, let's customize the system toggle. So as you can see, if we swipe down from the top of the display, we have your system toggles here, and I definitely recommend you customize these, remove the ones you don't need and keep the ones that you want, move them up to the front so that they are most visible. And to customize this, we're going to tap on the little pencil icon in the bottom right, and then your screen will be split into two sections. So the top half is going to be all the controls that are already on your screen, and then on the bottom half here, you will find the controls that you can add. So let's say I want to add nightlight. I can simply hold and drag it in. And as you can see, nightlight will now be added to the bottom. If I swipe here along the top, these four are going to be the ones that are always visible, right? So when you swipe down from your control center or your system toggles, these will always be visible. So I recommend putting the ones here that you use most. So let's say flashlight, that's one I use a lot. I want that right in the top left to make it easy for me to access. And again, you can just tap and hold and drag these around to move and to reset them. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like now. So as you can see, flashlight is now in the top left. And again, those four are the first ones you'll see. And swipe down to reveal the others as well. So a quick thing, but I definitely recommend you customize this. And did you know the Pixel 9a does actually have an always on display? This is of course off by default, but there is an ability, we do have the ability to turn this on. So to do this, we're going to jump into settings, and then we're going to go into display and touch, and then we're going to tap onto lock screen. And then in here, we're going to scroll to where we find always show time and info. This is Google's way of saying always on display. So if I go ahead and turn this on, lock the phone, and voila, as you can see, we now get to see your time as well as the date and weather. It's very unobtrusive. This won't consume a lot of battery because it doesn't show you your wallpaper, unlike some always on displays. It gives you your battery indicator as well. I think this is a very good use of the always on display. So something I definitely recommend you turn on. Nice to have your phone, say, on your desk. Simply glance over to see the time. And now I want to show you how to give your phone a name. And this is going to make it much easier to identify your phone. If, say, you're trying to connect to it from another device, say via Bluetooth, for example, you want to make sure that your phone is named after you, or at least something you'll recognize. And to do this, we're going to go into settings, then tap onto about phone, and then here, device name. We can simply tap into that and then modify the name from there. So let's say here, I'm going to call it Dion Pixel 9a. That's going to make it much easier to find the device and not accidentally connect to the wrong Pixel 9a. So there you have it. Those are the first 30 things that you should do on your brand new Pixel 9a. I hope this video was useful to you. If it was, be sure to leave a like and also subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.